everybody. Thank you very much for having me this evening. So yes, as you probably know, the Choir with No Name runs choirs for homeless people. And our mission is to enable as many homeless and marginalised people as possible to beat loneliness and build their confidence and skills through singing. I put that bit in italics because it's very important. Don't forget that. So at the moment we run 4 choirs. We're here in London, we're in Brighton, in Liverpool and in Birmingham, with imminent plans to set up in Cardiff. We worked with just over 1,000 people last year, 700 of those through short-term workshops, which was very kindly funded by Tiff in the year before last, and 300 through our regular weekly rehearsals, which always end with a hot meal. And it's in those weekly rehearsals where the magic really happens. That is where we meet our members and transform lives, basically, where they are supported to transform their lives. And just to talk about that briefly, I'm going to reintroduce to some of you who were there the last time we pitched. We had a most amazing speech given by this guy here. This is Adele. When he came to us, he'd been battling with addiction for 20 years. And he'd just lost his dad, and through that his dad was a council tenant and he had also lost his home. He came to us, and this is part of the speech that he gave at that Tiffin event. If I hadn't attended that first choir rehearsal, I don't even know if I would still be alive today. Choir gave me a reason to hold on when stuff got even tougher. It brought me function and purpose when I'd forgotten these things even existed. Your support of this life-saving effort will change lives. Be sure of this. It's a fact. I'm living, breathing, singing and literally acting proof. And that last comment, for those of you who were there will remember, is Adele is now a professional singer and actor, which isn't the most common outcome for our choir members, I have to say. But the common outcomes are that 79% of our choir members will say that being in their choir has helped them to make a positive move in their accommodation or a positive move into volunteering or into employment. So we're very proud of that stat. So we do brilliant work, it's very clear, and we really want to do that with as many homeless and marginalised people as possible, like I was saying before, but we have barriers to doing that, basically. So each of our choirs costs around 40 grand a year to run, which can be prohibitive. Most of that cost is taken up by the cost of hiring a choir director and also hiring a choir manager, and that person recruits and supports choir members and administrates gigs and rehearsals. We also have a limited central team. There's 2.5 of us working within the central team, which obviously limits our capacity to fundraise. And also, we're approached very often by other organisations who want to start a choir for homeless people in their community. And we always offer help where we can. We give a lot of telephone support. Sometimes we've been out to visit other choirs and see what we can do to help. But we think that over the last 2 years, we've probably had about 20 requests like that, and about 20% of those, so kind of a fifth of those, has actually resulted in some singing happening at the end of it, basically. So there's obviously a kind of lack of expertise and resource there that we need to address. So the solution, we believe, is to franchise our model, basically. The model of choir is going to be slightly different to how we deliver it at the moment. So what we envisage is that we're going to be able to work in smaller communities. We currently work in big cities, smaller communities and rural areas as well, with 50% homeless people and 50% any old people from the local community, basically, who want to join a choir and get involved. The people who are able to, who can afford to, will be paying a monthly subscription to that choir, which is going to make the model more sustainable, basically, than our current one. And it will be run, we'll have a paid choir director, but then also be run not by a choir manager, but by a volunteer committee. And those volunteer positions will be open to anybody in the choir, including our choir members from homeless backgrounds. We will do that through preparing resources that they need, and all of these things I can go into more detail in any questions because I won't have time to go into it here. We can give mentoring to our volunteer committee, we'll recruit and train the choir directors, and we'll learn from 2 pilot choirs, and our pilot choirs, with your help, we're going to launch with some seed funding to get them off the ground. The reason that we want to do it now is because we have an incredibly experienced central team at the moment who we think will really help to deliver this work. We've got the support of these guys. Now they're really interesting, Creativity Australia. They've done exactly the same work, pretty much, to a few details different. And they started it 2 years ago, so they've offered us the benefit of their experience and all of their resources to adapt, basically, which is incredible. We've also got the support of DePaul UK, who run Night Stop, which is a very successful social franchise here in the UK. And we're quite interested in their quality manual, basically, their quality control stuff. And we've also got the opportunity to sustain the work through, this is very ripe for lottery funding, we believe, because the new lottery priorities are very much about community-led projects. And Paul Hanlon, we think, might well be interested as well. So here, we're going to talk about the strategic importance of what this grant could do. This is the very best we can achieve under our current model by 2022. So we've currently got 4 choirs, a 5th one fairly imminent, 7 we think we could have by 2022. With your help this evening, by 2022, under our new franchise model, we're looking at 29 choirs by that time. And that's a difference between 300 people participating each week and 1,120 people participating. So look at similar outcomes to how, to build their confidence and look at all the outcomes that we do with our current choir members. But also we're going to be looking at outcomes around community cohesion and bringing that those communities together. And what we would like from you guys, if that was possible, is £20,000 towards additional staff resource to deliver this work. So we've got the resource within our central team to mentor our volunteer committees, to mentor them in fundraising and in and how to run a choir, which is quite an important part of it, and also in marketing the opportunity and that sort of thing. But we would really like some help towards that. And if we were to be lucky enough to raise anything on top of the 20,000, then we've already got £10,000 in seed funding for those 2 new choirs by a very kind lady called Mary, who was very taken with the idea and has really kind of helped us to get this off the ground. If we were to raise anything on top of that 20,000 to put into the staff resource, then we would like to seed fund further new choirs after the pilot phase with that money, basically. And, thank you very much for listening. I'm very happy